Hey guys, Rabbi Eliezer Karp here. This is kind of an off-the-schedule type of show. This is going to be I think, desperate times sometimes require desperate measures, and this is going to be a desperate show, and a special urgent show of healing. And I want to try to have everybody's needs in my mind. Hashem, our Creator, and all His creations, and all groups of creations. Black, white, black-skinned, white-skinned. What a thing to have to talk about. It seems so trivial if you think about it. I have to direct my comments to people with black skin or white skin. I guess before I was talking, I'm still talking about, I'm going to start, and I plan to start and end with the same point. But first let me just say this. Before I'm always talking about Gentiles and Jews, but I guess you could say, and I just want to relax you, and I want to be relaxed, and I don't want to come on too strong. I wasn't even going to wear this black suit because it's very, I don't want to say intense, but it was almost, I had to dress real fast because I want to make the other show with my mother. I want to be able to do that, the Karp family show at 11. So I want to cover a few, I think, some crucial points that I think will make your heart feel a little more at ease in life. I see the black man struggling so, and I think I can help. I think there are a few points that if he knows, if a black person knows, and forgive me for using such terminology, we're rushed, and I don't know of anything better at this moment. All I could do is address us by skin color. It's odd and strange. It feels odd and strange, but I used to say there are only two kinds of people in the world, Jews and Gentiles, because it's based on obligation. That's the only important thing. But I guess as we study the Torah and we study people and sociology, we study mankind and history and geography and how man has developed from the first man, Adam Harishon, the first man, until now. I guess we have many divisions, but yet the most important division is Jewish and Gentile. 613 obligations or 7 obligations. That's basically it. So my first point that I want to make is that, look, everything that's happening in the world is due to our lack of fulfilling the 7 obligations if you're not Jewish and the 613 obligations if you are Jewish. I don't see any other thing, any other possibility as to what causes all this turbulence. And I'll touch on all these things gently. I hope I'm going to discuss a few things. Let me just see that I'm on. Hold on. You guys are with me? All right. Let's see here. Hold on. Okay. All right. First of all, I think that the real problem here, and I've thought this for years. Now, I also want you to know, my black brothers and sisters, that how do I say this? My profession, my livelihood is jazz music. I always wanted to be a jazz musician since I was a kid. I was quite impressed by Count Basie and Duke Ellington and Louis Armstrong and so many others, Miles Davis, Charlie Parker. I missed the order there, Charlie Parker, Miles Davis. He was a young kid when he joined with Charlie Parker, if I'm not mistaken. And I've always been, I love all people, period. But I guess I don't know if I say it like this. I have a special affinity, I guess, toward my black brothers and sisters, because you helped to give rise to the profession in which I work daily. I mean, I play weddings and bar mitzvahs too. I guess that's like from the Jewish end. I play klezmer music as well. But I love jazz. I think it's I question it every day. I'm so impressed by how we speak this language of music. I have this new sharing. One of these days I'm going to do the language of music number 4. I did 1 through 3. I gave all my insights into music thus far, and the last one that I'm going to do, boy, it's going to be great. I hope that everyone will catch that when I do it. I will open your eyes to a new way to look at music, and you will just be, wow, So I like to think, even though I give you credit, I think, and I try to be accurate, I'm a truth seeker, and I think the swing rhythm came from the blacks, and this is going to lead me into one of my first points, came from the blacks being slaves and singing field hollers, and then in the churches, and how it progressed, that the rhythm, that swing feel, that I think it's undeniable that came from you, although, I'm not an historian. I'm just telling you what I've learned. I went to University of Miami. I woke up 8 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. I had to go to theory classes. I had to go to music history. I studied jazz history. I went through, we listened to examples. We listened to the Smithsonian. We had guest artists, and we had everything. And I studied the music. They institutionalized the music, and I studied it in a college for 4 years. What you might learn off the street, passed down. I saw that movie with, I'm also into tap dancing, believe it or not. I bought my tap shoes at Capizio a half an hour before Gregory Hines. I was in there a half an hour after he came in. Had I been there a half an hour earlier, I would have been able to talk with him and have him inspire me. But and then after that he passed away, so I never got to talk to him. But I'm interested in all these things, and so I know that the rhythm most definitely comes from you guys. I think the Western harmony, the theory, the harmony, the melody, the harmony, a lot of it comes from classical music. I studied with a teacher, Sanford Gold, who I don't know if he studied with him or was like a protege, or he studied with Art Tatum. And he'd go hear Art Tatum, and Mr. Gold would tell me stories about how he would hang out with Art Tatum, and he would tell him different things and whatnot. And and that whole Western harmony combined with the rhythm of the slaves, which I'm going to get to in a second, formed this music, this spontaneous composing and arranging music, jazz, which is just awesome. And I'm going to mention things that I've heard on the news of the past days, little things that come to my head as they come. Some black woman said, whites love black culture, but they don't like the blacks. And I don't think that's so true. I don't think that's so true. And at that point, I kind of thought to myself, boy, the woman has like a persecution complex. Well, why does she feel that way? Maybe she's got reasons to feel that way. I'm going to try to touch on all these things. I only got an hour before my mom starts banging on the door. And I got to, then switch into the next show because she's waiting to do that other show. So I wanted to do this because I think we're hurting, and I think we need to heal, and I think we need to clear up stuff. I'm going to go through some Torah verses. I'm going to tell you your history. I'm going to give you black history before the Kunta Kinte you think you know. I'm going to tell you what the Torah says on black history. And I'm going to read those verses for you and try to help you deal with that. Because I've had conversations with my Rav regarding that over the years. I've been learning Torah for 30 years or so. And these issues came up. At one point when I learned the truth and I wanted to teach everybody, because I knew I should teach everybody And it was so nice. The policeman from Minnesota, the chief of police, spoke with you guys. What a beautiful thing that he just did. You know, so nice. I think you guys, you shouldn't feel, you shouldn't feel so persecuted. And I'll tell you another thing. You know, I'm a Jewish person. I have many things here on the table. I'm Jewish. I'm white. I play a black music, which is my profession. I care. I have many black friends. I feel I share a lot in common. Blacks and Jews have a lot in common. I mean, we were enslaved in Egypt for, I believe, 437 years. I came across last week I did the show on Shavuot and how we left Egypt. I believe I saw real quickly it was either 430 or 437. I think 437 years we were enslaved. I mean, this country was... and then I just heard Spike Lee speak, and I caught some of the points. It's funny how Hashem gets me to hear all the little points. I'm pulling it together, calling it together. I didn't know. I knew kind of what I was going to say today, and I see where this is going to go, and I'm going to try to help. And they said, they were talking about how this country, America, started. You know, I'm a truth seeker. Let's talk truth. Okay, what do? You know, I watch Gunsmoke sometimes to relax at night. To relax, a lot of gunfiring and all that stuff. But I let loose the steam and I go to sleep. But you know, we used to fight the Indians. I mean, we took the country from the Indians. Whatever. I mean, again, I'm not an historian, so I can't really comment so strongly. All I know is I was born into this country against my will. As it says in the Torah, we are created against our will, we die against our will, we have to answer to Hashem against our will. I think my most important contribution to our collective mind is that we all should know that we have 7 obligations if we're not Jewish, 613 obligations if we are Jewish, and we have these 10 steps to immortality that I'm pushing down your throats because it is so important and so true. One day you're going to appreciate it. If you don't get it now, if you don't hop it, you don't understand it right now, one day you're going to appreciate it and you say, wow, I'm glad Larry shoved that down my throat, or Rabbi Eliezer Karp, because it's so important. And my whole life now has a whole new meaning because of it. So, you know, on a personal level, when you guys are out protesting and rioting and burning cars and hurting people and jumping on cars and jumping up and down and acting in very strange ways with disregard for human life and property, it's actually it's an affront to me. It's a slap in my face because I'm trying to teach you the truth about what God wants. You embarrass me. You know, I mean, I don't know how many people have listened to what I'm teaching, but, you know, I'm trying to represent Hashem, and come here with His truth. You know, He could do the talking himself, you know, but His system is not set up that way. We have to do the work. We have to think right and feel right and speak right and act right according to His instructions, His Torah. Torah means instructions. He gave us instructions. It was our job as the Jewish people to teach these instructions to all of mankind. We've tried. Blame can be put on both the Jews and the non-Jews for not receiving the information. The same way, you know, blame can be placed, you know, on blacks and whites who are involved in things. First of all, look, let me just tell you as a friend, don't do anything wrong. You know, I read what happened. I read one thing, you know, and then you only take it from everything else, and then you erupt and you make these things into a terrible balagan, as we call it. It's a complete chaos, you know. I read that there was a 911 complaint. I'm not putting any blame. I certainly don't want to make someone uncomfortable in their time of mourning. However, I'm just going to gently say, as a truth seeker, and I hope you're a truth seeker too, or don't be watching me. If you're not a truth seeker, go hear all the garbage. I don't want you listening to me. I'm here to talk truth. Our Creator's. I'd rather keep quiet and just study Torah, but I came out because of the virus, and now I'm coming out again. You keep forcing me out. I can't get any rest. I'm just trying to put up a big band post today. I thought to myself, all right, they're not healing. They're not ready to hear any of that yet. So I guess it was a great Buddy Rich, you got to try thing, and I deleted it because I'm trying to be sensitive. So I'm back on urgent terms here. I got to talk again. So there was a 911 call. I saw it online. I read it, and I don't know, it was a lady, I think it was. I don't remember all the details, but it said this man was acting strangely, and he handed us counterfeit money. And that's what I thought I heard. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just saying, don't get involved in criminal activity, and don't do anything that leads to getting involved with criminal activity. Or else then you're going to get involved with the police. Look, and I got friends who are policemen. I have a lot of people I know throughout my life. I went to elementary school, junior high, high school with future policemen. I knew them when I was a kid. We could talk about that another time. I understand what they go through in their head to a degree. And look, and they talk to me and they tell me stuff, and maybe it was primed for this moment. I also wanted to say something else. One time I went to eat somewhere, a kosher restaurant. Someone paid the owner of the kosher restaurant with counterfeit bills. I came in, I think I had just worked, Baruch Hashem, I had $100. I gave the owner, I think, $100. He gave me 5 20s. I don't remember how many of them were counterfeit. But then I went to Publix to buy food, and I don't know what happened. And again, there's a God, 4:17, do know that God is one. That's the obligation we Jews have. And I don't know, out of all the days, I think that I finally had an aha moment, and I realized I was sitting before I was going to come on here, and I realized, that's why Hashem did that to me. So the cashier caught my bill, put it up to the light, and said, "I'm sorry, sir, this is a counterfeit 20. I said, "Whoa, what?" I said, "I'm not producing counterfeit bills." But they explained to me what it was. I had to pay some other way. I'm not the richest guy. Somehow I was able to pay, and I got out of there. And I returned the bill to the store owner, to the restaurant owner, and he took care of me and replaced it. But, it can happen to anybody, so I just wanted you to know that it happened to me. It was very embarrassing, standing online there, and I'm paying with a counterfeit 20, and she's announcing it in front of people looking, I could see that that's a very embarrassing situation. So I don't know if he did it on purpose, and I'll tell you, this Mr. Floyd, no offense to him, my condolences to his family. I feel so bad, I'm so sorry. They also played on this thing they're doing on CNN, all these events that happen. They're always saying Black Lives Matter, and every life matters, I don't like being in the country that says, God bless America. It should be God bless the world. God bless all 262 places on the earth, and then some. There are planets that we don't even know about, or we do know about, but governments are just not telling us. But that's a whole other thing. But, we have to love all of Hashem's creations and try to work with them and have them work with us in order to fulfill our 7 and 613 obligations properly and our 10 steps to immortality. So it all keeps coming back to that. It might not only be the first and last thing I say, it may be the middle thing I say too, so bear with me. But everything mentioned in that video, I lived through all those events. And each time there was something, the person who got either hurt or harmed, I believe, to my knowledge, forgive me if I'm wrong or I'm misquoting, but I went through each one in my mind, and I remember, he did that, and we suspected of doing that, and he suspected. Don't do crimes. And you certainly don't want to go up to a policeman and start throwing stuff at him. And I had a laugh, by the way. It's ironic. You're all wearing masks, right? Protecting each other from the virus and inhaling and blowing on each other, but yet you'll pick up a Molotov cocktail and fling it at somebody. What if that hits somebody in the face or in the eye? and you cause someone to go blind or something, how are you going to live with yourself? And what Hashem will do to you after that? Who knows? You know? I mean, I can only read you the punishments that we get for all the obligations. I don't know what's ticking in his head. Hashem's got his master plan, and he'll do whatever he has to in order to see to it that that master plan gets done and gets accomplished. So I'm telling you, let's do it the easy way rather than the hard way. And I question people's motivations too. You know, I'm very... you're not going to pull the wool over on me. I trust people to a certain degree, but, you know, look, I know everyone's getting antsy. They want to get the heck out of their house after all this quarantine. So you're all wearing the masks and you're flinging stuff, burning cars. It's like, it's such a contradiction in terms. You're wearing a mask, but you're burning a police car or some innocent bystander's vehicle? That don't make any sense. And what are you trying to accomplish? I'm throwing everything on the table. You know, I realize there's 4 age groups, maybe in America or in the world. There's the age group from 1 to 17 years old. Those people should be at home with their parents and safe. And sometimes maybe 15, 16, 17-year-olds get a little rambunctious and they could be at these protests. Then you got your 18-year-olds, I guess you're considered an adult. And then from 18 to I would say 35 years old-ish. Maybe I'm wrong, I could probably change that. But about 35-ish, people who their seichel is developing, their common sense is developing. By 20, you're supposed to have intelligence, I believe, full intelligence. At age 20, the Torah says, I'm going to read you those. I was planning to do it for this show, which I'm going to still do on Tuesday, God willing, because I wanted to go through the 613, the 25 obligations of the 613 with the Jewish people and the Gentiles as well. But so it says there in Pirkei Avot, the part of the Mishnah, what happens at what ages. Like I know at 40 you get complete understanding, at 50 you're able to give counsel. So I'm 54, I guess I'm giving counsel. I felt obliged, I felt obligated. I got dressed fast and I came in here to talk to you. Hold on. Let's see if I'm talking to anybody at all. All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you for listening. So, so this is in my mind. So 1 through 17 should be at home, listening to your parents. 18 to 35, you're a young adult. You're starting to be an adult to developing and getting a profession in this country, whatever. Blah, blah, blah. A lot of you can get married and whatnot. Then from about 36 to about 64. That's the bracket in which I am, and these are what I consider the solid-minded individuals who kind of make the base for this country. They're like the parents guiding those other 2 younger groups. And then you got the 65-year-olds who start collecting Social Security all the way through till you're like 90, 100, hopefully 120. It says in the Torah you have about 120 years to live in this world. That's what if you're not immortal. If you're immortal and you do it my way, Hashem's real way, the way of study, if you study to get here, the normal people who don't study, the quote normal, people who don't study, they probably, if they're lucky, they get 120 years, some maybe a little more, some a lot less. Usually a lot of people go around, who knows, 70, 80, whatever it is. So we got these 4 groups, you know. I wouldn't see someone in my mom's age group going out, jumping on a car, you know, lighting it on fire and stuff. I mean, it just wouldn't make any sense, right? So why do people do that? Anger, it could be a lot of things. I'm skeptical of people's motivations. The first thing is I think they want to get the heck out of the house because of the quarantine. That's the first thing. And now, meanwhile, we have curfews. So what's the good of such things? And some of your slogans don't make sense either. I don't like some of the slogans, but it's like two slogans. It's funny. People said, no justice, no peace. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean, let's say if I were saying that, if I were the one saying that, I would say, no justice, no peace. I don't get, am I saying about myself? I mean, I'm also letting you know that how can you possibly know what things are, the actual facts, the actual reality of something by just looking at a scenario? There might be more insightful people than others who may be able to pick up cues and determine, okay, this is what's happening right there. I don't know what that police officer's intentions were. I heard all the stories. I heard that he had a reputation for whatever, some, I don't know if it was misconduct or things, whatever, where he maybe went over the line a bit, whatever. I can explain that up from his point of view too. I mean, we'll get to the healing of this. I'm just laying down the whole groundwork and showing you that I'm catching all the issues to the best of my ability, and then I'm going to try to put it together in a way that we can heal, okay, and figure out what to do next in a productive manner, so that we don't hurt each other, we don't hurt ourselves, and we work together as a team to fulfill the 7 or the 613 and the 10 obligations that we have to fulfill. Okay. So I was saying, so there's those 2 points. One was, how do I interpret that? I was trying to interpret it, and I didn't quite know what it is. Sometimes when you speak in the language of English and you're not definitive, I find this is very hard for myself to, I know a lot of other people have the same problem. It's hard to say what you mean and mean what you say. Hopefully to say what you mean, that's the key, But no justice, no peace. So if I'm saying that, if I don't get justice, I'll never have peace in my mind. Is that what that means? It's a personal statement? No, I think what you mean to say is, from what I'm gathering, is either we're going to get justice, what we want, what we perceive to be the truth, in the way that we perceive, or else there's not going to be any peace. Now, that's not a very nice thing to say. What about the rest of us that are we innocent bystanders? Do you want us to render an opinion? Is that what you want? You're forcing us to say something? I mean, there's many of us, and I know that, and I love you guys. I'm not trying to pick on you. I don't think it sounds like that. Maybe it does. I'm trying to be soft and also definite about what I'm trying to say, but let me say another phrase. So here is that phrase, no justice, no peace. And then you had, I believe it was the president say, and I'm not a supporter, I don't want to say that in a bad way, not that I wouldn't be, but how do I say this? There are certain behaviors that I would think that Mr. President could display a little better to help society, domestically and abroad, and hopefully, maybe if he watches my show, I'll cite these things as they come up in the obligations. I mean, I understand what you guys are complaining about. I've been on the fence with this issue. I didn't want to take sides because of, we were in a time. I once met a very nice lady at Walmart. It happened to be a black lady, and she was from Walmart. And we were talking, me, her, and my mother. And I think this was when President Obama was elected. And I think she said she said it's a white man's club, the presidency. This was before, I think we were talking, how do you feel if if it was a black president elected, if Mr. Obama became president? I think she said, well, it's been a white man's club, and it's time we had some change, whatever. So I understood that, and I took it from her, and I saw her feelings, I saw what she felt about that. I want to make one statement since I just brought it up. When President Obama was president, I believe I heard on the news once some African Americans, some black Americans. I don't know if I like that word African American, because you can have African Americans who are not black. I mean, I know many South Africans that I'm friends with. They happen to be Jewish and white, and they're not black. So, and they're African Americans. I guess they're South African Americans. Whatever. Anyway, point is, and you know, these terms we use and whatnot. Actually, there should only be Jews and Gentiles. I think that's probably the best way that we should talk to each other. There are black Jews, there are black Gentiles. There are white Jews and white Gentiles. Whatever. There was a point, some black, I think it was a black group in America, wanted President Obama or some president to apologize for slavery. And I think that's the crux. I think this is all about that hurt from slavery. I'm sensitive. I've been here for 54 years. Throughout my whole schooling and my entire life, I've always been sensitive that this is the issue right here. You guys you're angry about slavery, and I'm going to try to help you heal through that. I was enslaved too, or my ancestors were enslaved too. In Egypt, 437 years, 430 to 437 years, whatever it was, a long time to be enslaved. I'm going to teach you how the Jewish people have taught me to look at that over the years. We were in a Holocaust. 6 million of us, died at the hands of our fellow men. Anyway, back to the Obama story is that, so I thought it ironic. I had a beautiful ironic thought that you should really take to heart. Let me check them on. Hold on. You guys with me? All right, stay with me. They wanted a U.S. president, or in general, or specifically President Obama, to apologize for slavery. And then it hit me, and I thought to myself, you know something? How ironic. I think President Obama is the apology for slavery. President Obama is, or was, the apology for slavery. My black brothers and sisters, just had a black president. If that doesn't speak an apology, if that doesn't bespeak or a resounding apology from white America, I don't know what else can be said. I really don't. You're doing a lot better than me with the Egyptians or I guess the Germans are paying money and whatnot, reparations. But Spike Lee said that point. I heard it, and it hit. I've always known that point. We come into this country, and again, if you don't have God and His Torah in your life, none of these things are going to make any sense. I think the only hope to having sense be made in your head is to know the Torah and to know our Creator and His instructions, to know what His intentions are and why He puts us through things. So the Egyptians, they enslaved us, the Jewish people. They died under the sea. So I guess they gave their life, and that was the apology, if you want to look at it. How do the Jewish people see things? I wanted to make a point of that. I'm not getting it from my shed right now. Let me move on to other points. Let me read to you what I've been taught is the true black history. Okay. This is my compilation of the book of Bereshit, the first book of the Torah. Okay. I believe that. Hold on here. I took the whole Torah. I studied the entire Chumash. I went through sentence by sentence. I highlighted the whole thing. I organized it. I tagged it so that I could just get to something in a split of a second if need be. The whole system is not perfected yet, but it has the groundwork laid. So let me just, all right, so I made outlines of each of the 5 books of Moses. So in the Sefer Bereshis, the first book, what you call Genesis, incorrectly I might say, whatever the Jewish people name it, that's what the correct name is. I mean, it's our Torah that we're supposed to share with the world properly, teaching the 7 obligations to the Gentiles and the 613 to our fellow Jews. Okay, so in chapter 9 of Bereshis, there are 29 sentences, and I believe we started around chapter 9, verse 18. And this was after the flood, right? The flood. Okay, God destroyed the world with the flood. I also wrote the Nephilim died too. Those are from my ancient alien followers. My Rav told me that the Nephilim died. Some of you said that they escaped to caves. We'll get to that in a whole other show. But I just want to let you know I was hip to it back then. I hopped that point. I just want to, when I came to it in my study, I asked my Rav, I think he said something, I don't know, we'll hash out what the truth is when we get there. I mean, I have a Masorah that he said they died. I'd like to see my Rav will give me his proof, and I'll tell it to you. You know, there's another thing. I had many occurrences, many experiences in my travels. I used to live in Muncie, New York. At one point, I was saying to you before, I felt obligated to teach this information to everybody, the truth about life, the 7, the 613, and I guess the 10 steps to immortality were only forming back then. They've crystallized in these past weeks, but into some concrete thing that I could teach. But I always knew we didn't have to die, but I didn't quite know how to go about it. I knew there was those 14 steps or so, 10, there's like, what do you call it, the 9 to 13 steps in Mesilat Yesharim, the book by the Ramchal, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, that taught how to be immortal. And I knew Eliyahu Hanavi never died, whatever. So I didn't quite piece it all together until just recently. But anyway, so there was the flood. I believe it was and God destroyed the world with the flood. The Nephilim died too. And that was in right before chapter 7 or something of chapter 7, verse 10, I think it was. Noah went into the ark, and God destroyed the world. Blah, blah. Okay, now we're at Noah, right? Noah, whatever you call him. 9:18, Noah planted a vineyard and got drunk. All right, let's start from there. A little before that. Let's say, chapter 9, verse 18. And the sons of Noah who went out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Okay? Ham is the father of Canaan. Now, why is that mentioned? I'm just letting you know there's a point about that later. And maybe it's for this very moment, for this teaching to be made public. 9:19. These are the 3 sons of Noah, and from them was the whole earth peopled. Okay? Because there was a flood, everyone died. Noah came off the ark with his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and from them the whole earth. We came from them, right? I am probably a descendant of Shem, because I think I was taught Shem had the yeshivot. He started the first yeshivas, the first schools of Torah with Aber. And now, I believe you black brothers and sisters come from Ham. Now I'm getting to my points here. When you know this, you'll know your whole history, you'll know. I saw the man, there was a family member of Mr. Floyd, and I believe, or maybe his friend, I don't know, he's on there, he's talking, he says, how much more pain and suffering does the black man have to go through? What more, what do we expect, what's expected of us, or something to that effect, and I thought to myself, I gotta share this, and I have a solution, because I spoke to my Rav about this, and he gave me even a slogan, or I gave him a slogan. As he gave me the slogan, strive for immortality, I added on and avoid immorality. And back then, I have another one for this coming up. Hold on. So from them was the whole earth peopled. 9 verse 20. And Noah began to be a farmer, and he planted a vineyard. Okay, and he drank of the wine. 9 verse 21. And he drank of the wine, and he became drunk, and he lay uncovered inside his tent. Okay, now, things come to mind. I was taught by my Rav, we Jewish people are not allowed to get drunk. Even on Purim, I have a very strict Masorah, my unbroken chain of authoritative teaching. A lot of my Jewish Orthodox brethren, might argue with me, we're supposed to get drunk, blah, blah. Well, I'm of the opinion, I come from the Masorah of the opinion that we're not allowed to get drunk, ever. Okay, whatever. So now this person, Noah was not a Yehudi yet. We didn't get to that yet. Avram Avinu, Abraham was not even around yet, right? So here we are. We're just, I'm a truth seeker, and I'm just looking at what happened before we even got here, the Jewish people. He lay uncovered inside his tent. 9:22. And Ham, the father of Canaan. What a strange way to say that. Who cares? Ham, the father of Canaan. Why is Hashem saying it like that? Saw the nakedness of his father. And Ham, the father of Canaan, could be in parentheses, I guess, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside. Now, there's more to that story. Now, when you guys, remember I told you that, hold on. I'll make sure I'm on. You guys are cooking here. Hold on. All right, hang with me. Okay. Where would I end up here? And Cham saw the nakedness of his father. So there's more of that story. So the Torah was stolen, I told you, and it became the Septuagint. It was stolen by the Ptolemy in the Hebrew year 3515. There were actually 2 attempts to steal it. I think the second one, the other one was 341 something. I think the name was 3454. I forgot what it was, but it's before. There was another attempt. I don't know forgot who did that. I could report back to you when I check my book, but I know for sure that it was stolen and became the Septuagint in 3515. Now, you guys don't have an oral law, you people who have stolen our Torah, and then try to figure out as best you can try to be as a truth seeker. But if you don't have a Masorah and you don't have the Jewish people, the collective knowledge of the Torah at your disposal, you will not get certain points and facts. Plus, we have things that you do not have. We have midrashim, we have outside teachings, we have things that explain things that are written in here in the written law. We have the oral law. We have the codifications. We have many posek commentators, authoritative commentators who I have a list of them who I'm supposed to study. They're on my list to study. One of those important authoritative posek commentators, a posek is a decider, someone who has the authority to decide Jewish law, was Rashi. Okay? And Rashi said, if I'm not mistaken, that in this, I don't know if it was on this sentence, because I did not see it inside the text, and I might be out of order, but it was said and it's known, and my Rav told me this, and it's known amongst, I guess, the Jewish Orthodox people, that Ham either castrated his father Noah and or sodomized him as well. So it was either one or both, I think, the way, if I'm remembering correctly. I'm remembering another point. When I was in Manhattan, I wanted to teach this information. I don't know what possessed me, but I saw people teaching stuff on the street. And I guess, I think that was the most desperate move I ever made to teach this information. Protest, you protest, you jump on, should I protest and jump on cars and burn things because no one knows the truth and wants to learn the truth? I mean, is that the right way to go about it? I wrote letters, I started a website. the Life Purpose Fulfillment website. The introduction is only one page right there, but in the introduction I have the 10 facts to how we know this information is true. Later Hashem whittled it down to just 3 facts, if you remember correctly, that there were 3 million witnesses, you got 7 and 6, 13 obligations with the 10 steps to immortality, and those the sentence in the Torah, it says, do not add any information to or delete anything from any information from these obligations, these instructions. So therefore, that's how we know it's true. Devarim 4:2 and 13:1, written twice to my knowledge, do not add or delete. It's an obligation for the Jewish people and for, in a sense, all of mankind, in a sense, because you got to learn the Torah from us, and we're not allowed to let you add or delete, right? So, therefore, you only have the 7 obligations with the 10 steps to immortality. Anyway, so Rashi said that point, to my knowledge. And now I'll read you what happened after. So in 9:23, so he did a very bad thing, Ham, to his father Noah while he was drunk. While Noah was drunk, Ham walked in, saw him naked, castrated him, and sodomized him. Or at least just castrated him. Or, I'm not even sure if I can say this because I don't know, or at least just sodomized him without castrating him. I'm not sure. But anyway, maybe, I was reading the verses that come after. I'll read them to you now. And something started to make a little more sense to me, and I'm just reading it in English. And I'm going to go through the whole Torah in Hebrew and Aramaic soon after I finish the whole thing in English in my native tongue, so I can get all the concepts and organize it like this. So then when I go through the whole thing in Hebrew and Aramaic, I'll be able to pinpoint things. And maybe that's why Hashem had me come out now with this information, so you guys are teaching me. As I'm teaching you, you're teaching me what's important to you, what's needed. I'll keep my eyes open. When I go into the Torah, I'll find these things in Hebrew and Aramaic, and I'll then nail them. And I'm very good with dikduk, with grammar of Hebrew and Aramaic. And I will find stuff, every dot and vowel, I will find the truth. But let me read on. So 9:23, and Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it upon both their shoulders, and went backward, and covered the nakedness of their father. And their faces were backward, and they saw not their father's nakedness. So, now, is it that they saw not their father's nakedness, or they saw not that their father was castrated? I don't know. It occurred to me as a thought, just in English. I might be completely wrong, because I got to see it in Hebrew. I'm just throwing it out there. My job, I think, right now is just to give you the truth on a platter, and just, it might not be the best display and in the best way, but at least you're getting the truth, so you know where you stand, and then you study. I'm studying, you'll study, we'll study together, and we'll get to the solid truth. First we're getting on the target, and eventually we'll get right on the bullseye, on the center. So 9:24, and Noah awoke from his wine. He awoke from his wine, his stupor, his drunken stupor. Which is odd, It said in the 911 report that this lady complained that this man, Mr. Floyd, came in, gave a counterfeit bill, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. But he was acting strange, and he may have been drunk or may have been high, who knows what. And meanwhile, it's ironic because I think he worked with the policeman who supposedly is being held now, and they worked together, and Mr. Floyd was a security guard, while the policeman was some type of off-duty policeman. You guys got to note something, and I would be remiss if I didn't say this, because as far as healing goes, everybody, I've had many conversations with my parents and my brother when we have fights or we have problems and we have to work issues out. And I try to look at it from everybody's point of view. You don't be obstinate. Don't be so hard-nosed and stiff-necked that you can't see what another person's going through. You don't know. I couldn't tell by looking at the policeman from his facial expressions what he's going through, in his life. Maybe he has a mother that he's taking care of too, or who knows what he's thinking, you know. And I heard that he stayed away, didn't feel so comfortable around black people in this club that they worked, whatever. So, I mean, and Mr. Floyd's very imposing, a very large fellow. You know, I mean, what are we picking on policemen for? I mean, you guys got to think about what you're doing, you know. And burning down a police station? It doesn't make any sense. So now, all the residents of that community don't have the people who are working so hard. And how can we possibly pay a policeman enough money to put his life on the line for us each day so that we can do other things with our lives? I mean, it's not fair. It's just not a nice thing to, you know, to assume that you got to give them the benefit of doubt. When their lives are on the line, I mean, if your life was on the line, I'm sure you'd have a hard time deciding what the proper action. And yes, they're trained, yes, but sometimes you don't know how far someone would push something. And this Mr. Floyd was a very imposing fellow, very tall, very big and strong. It looked like, you know, I saw that movie on CNN. They were showing various things, Trayvon Martin incident. The other incident, there was another incident there with a very large fellow who was selling illegal stuff on the street. And he said, I'm not doing anything. But the two policemen, I mean, they're standing there, and he's saying he's not doing anything, but it was known that he supposedly, correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't mean to pick, I love you, and I'm trying to help. But in order to heal, it's got to be a groundwork set where we all respect each other and the truth is on the table. You know, I told you the truth. I went into that Publix and I had counterfeit bills on me. It wasn't my intention to display counterfeit bills, and maybe Mr. Floyd didn't expect to do that either. I don't know. I don't know that. I'm judging him favorably. I'm judging the policeman favorably. You know, meanwhile, you know, I watch those Gunsmoke episodes. They come to town because Matt Dillon, you know, he shot this guy in self-defense. He's the brother of somebody else. So the brother now is coming to town. I want to find myself the marshal of Dodge. I'm going to kill him, right? That's how they come, you know. And meanwhile, Matt Dillon didn't do anything. He shot him in self-defense, right? And now they want to, you know, kill Matt Dillon. And you see many stories like that. But, you know, and we have a place in Torah, you know, there's I believe it's when the family member wants to come after the killer of somebody, like a brother or you send the unintentional killer to a city of refuge. Has what to do with the Levites. I think they have 6. I'll have to explain to when we get to it, but we have a special. Hashem knows that there's this feeling of vengeance. You want to get even, and yet, you know, we don't have those cities of refuge to send the unintentional sinner, the unintentional killer right now. So, but I don't think that would apply to Gentiles per se. I don't know if the policeman was Jewish, but anyway, let me get back to the points at hand. So I couldn't tell by his face. I kind of thought of it differently. No offense to him, he looked like he wasn't in the best of shape. Maybe he was, maybe he felt threatened. It took 4 people to hold down this Mr. Floyd, and I saw him trip. He didn't want to get in the car at first. I don't know. Look, and I'm sensitive. You know, I know you don't want to hear these things right now. You just want to continue being angry. I don't want you to be angry. We shouldn't be angry at each other. I'm just a truth seeker. I'm not pinning any judgment and saying that this is the way it was. How could I possibly know? Only Hashem and they know. Maybe they don't even know. He don't even know what he's thinking. Mr. Floyd don't even know what he's thinking. Maybe he's drunk. I heard he lost it was the anniversary of the loss of his family member, if I'm not mistaken, a little before that. I don't know what he's thinking. Maybe he went out. Why would you go out into town on the street? You know, who knows? The whole thing could have been an accident. Unintentionally gave counterfeit bills, and here he's just upset over the loss. It was the anniversary of the loss. Who knows what it was? And he's out, he wants to get drunk. Maybe he has no people, and he has no people around him. He felt like the need to be drunk amongst others, so he didn't feel so lonely. I don't know. I'm just saying I don't think you guys know either. So you're going to string up a policeman? I'm just saying These policemen give their lives for us, and now you're going to scare the heck out of policemen. They're not going to want to do their job. And then what's going to happen to the rest of us? Then we're not going to have anyone to patrol us and to keep us safe. So what good are you doing by doing this? It doesn't do any good. Justice, in your mind. If it was an act of guilt, if it was a wrong thing, Hashem should help us that we should know the truth and the right things should happen in the right way. That's the best blessing I could possibly give, but you guys aren't even fulfilling the 7 obligations in the 613. It says, I could have started this whole sharing with one point. I could have said, the minute I heard about the counterfeit bills, so that's leading to stealing. That's stealing. That is stealing. You're stealing an item, and you're trading counterfeit, non-good money for this item, and that's stealing. If you steal a pruta, a nickel, you get death. That's it. Hashem doesn't have us have any courts. We don't have any Gentile courts that mete out justice for the 7 obligations. So how can he get what he needs? How can Hashem get justice? So he uses somebody maybe to do something. I mean, I thought, and I'm just listening this before I even got emotionally involved to a degree with the people and the players in this whole scenario that should never have happened in the first place had he not gotten involved into something where they had to call 911 in the first place. Don't do something. Don't do something that leads to something. Don't go on someone's property and take water. Don't get a drink and then people come shooting at you. How can you predict what could possibly happen? Hashem is multi-powerful. He has so many tricks up his sleeve. So many ways, infinite ways he could do stuff. He's in a person's head. He's in their environment. He helps us breathe. I mean, I can go more on that whole scenario, things that I looked for, cues that I saw, but that lead me to believe other things or to judge the scenario differently. So, and I don't want to, because I don't think it's necessary right now for healing. I think the most important thing is healing. So let me read the rest of these verses, because then I want to mention how to heal. Hold on. I'll make sure I'm on. All right, guys, stay with me. Okay. And Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done to him. Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Very interesting, his younger son. Shem, Ham, and Japheth, that's another point for later on. Why does it say Shem, Ham, and Japheth? And the younger son is mentioned second. That's something that comes up in Torah. I don't know if I'm saying it properly. Okay. He knew what his younger son had done to him. And Noah awoke, 9:24, and Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done to him. 9:25, and he said, "Cursed be Canaan." Very odd. Cursed be Canaan. Not Ham, but Canaan. Maybe he can't even say his younger son's name, so he curses I'm just thinking out loud. You know, if I were at a table and my Rav was reading this, we've been to many a Shabbos discussion where we go over the Parsha of the week, you know, the chapter of the week of the Torah, and I would say that. It just came to my mind, you know. He knew what his younger son had done to him, and he cursed. He said, "Cursed be Canaan, a slave of slaves shall he be to his brothers." Okay, a slave of slaves shall he be to his brothers. So why does he say Canaan and not Ham? That bothers me. I should have an answer for that. 9:26, and he said, Blessed be the Lord, God of shame, and Canaan shall be his slave. And Canaan shall be his slave. God shall, and number 9:27, I'm only going to read 3 more verses, and I want to point out something else. 9:27, God shall enlarge Japheth and he shall live in the tents of shame. My only understanding of that so far from what I have in my Masorah is that Shem was the starter of the yeshiva system, of the Torah study system. So who better to have as the host of the tent than the one who's studying Torah, who's studying what Hashem wants us to do in the world. Okay, so Shem, let's see here. And he shall live in the tents of Shem, and Canaan shall be his slave. God, 9:27, God shall enlarge Japheth, and he shall live in the tents of Shem, and Canaan shall be his slave. I don't know if I believe it's Shem's slave, I think it was just said here, right, or something. Canaan shall be his slave. Right, Shem. Okay. Sometimes you got to learn these things, and you got to pay attention to every detail. You got to be meticulous, because it just said before that Canaan shall be his slave, and he said, 9:26, and he said, "Blessed be the Lord God of Shem, and Canaan shall be his slave." Blessed shall be the Lord God of Shem, and Canaan shall be his slave, Shem's slave, to my understanding, so far. And I'm not writing anything in stone. I'm just reading the verses. Okay, 9:28. And Noah lived after the flood 350 years. 9:29. And all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. 950 years. And we only get 120. And you're complaining about trying to strive for immortality? I'm offering you eternal life on a silver platter. All you got to do is fulfill the 7, 6, 13, and 10 obligations, and whatever. Hard to teach. People don't listen. Okay. And the sons of Ham, this is chapter 10, verse 6. I just want to add something because I heard this and something don't make sense to me. And the sons of Ham, which was number 2. I put numbers on them because Ham was number 2, I believe, in the order. Oh, Shem, Japheth. Yeah, it's switched. I don't want to read all the verses of chapter 10, but I just do want to read. It says that, and the sons of Ham were Cush, Egypt, Put, and Canaan. Now, I never understood something, but I'm just telling you, my black brothers and sisters, you're known as Cushites. You're the descendants of Cush. I don't quite understand that. And yet Canaan was cursed. Now, could that mean that you're not cursed? This is enough to get us talking and thinking. So I mentioned it. Cush. And I don't have an answer. And the sons of Cush. Okay. 10:8. And Cush fathered Nimrod. He was the first on earth to be a mighty one. 10:9. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Therefore it is said, as Nimrod the mighty hunter before the Lord. 10:10. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel. Babel, that's the Tower of Babel, where people tried to challenge Hashem, and Hashem confused everyone's language. But that's all I wanted to cover there. All right, so that leaves us with a question. Hashem wanted us to be left with a question. I was always under the impression that Cush was, why did I think Cush was a descendant of Canaan? Ham, Ham, then Canaan, then Cush. But Cush and Canaan are supposedly brothers. The sons of Ham, Cush. Maybe one of my Orthodox friends, it seems like you have an opportunity here to set me straight. Maybe you know something I don't know. It would be nice if you chimed in, not leave me here out in the boondocks. Maybe it's something so common that an Orthodox little kid of 3 knows, and for some reason, because I'm a Baal Teshuvah, or Tinoch Shenishba, someone who returned to Torah, or someone who was held captive against his will, would not know. And I come back to Torah with a good heart. I'm trying to help my brothers and sisters, my white and black and Jewish and Gentile brothers and sisters, and not in any necessarily put in order there. I would probably put I guess in this instance, I would put my Gentile, black, and white brothers and sisters first. Then I would put my Jewish, black, and white brothers and sisters next, because in order to help the hurting. and to heal the hurting. All right, so let me now heal. All right, so that's the best I can do so far with that. Just letting you know that, now, okay, I heard some other things that may clear this up. I heard that the skin color was part of the curse. I heard that having black skin was part of the curse. Now, I was going to tell you, I once went into Manhattan, I said this, and I protested, not protested on the street, I was teaching Torah on the street. I made myself a little sign, because I saw people doing this. I don't know, it's not a very dignified thing to do. I don't know why I did it. I guess I was so desperate at the time. I don't know if it was before I had a radio show or after. I don't remember. And I saw there were so many things, terrible things in the world. I was trying to help. And I met a lot of people on the street there as I was teaching. I was very dignified in dress. I looked just like this, pretty much. And yet I was, they probably thought I was a little woo, little nut job, but whatever. I tried to do it in the most dignified manner. I even had my Rav's blessing. He told me to go ahead. And I should do that. Everything I've ever done, I had his blessing, but whatever. I felt strongly to do it. That's another principle in the Torah. Rav told me if you feel so strongly about something for the honor of Hashem, do it. So for the sake of saving lives, I did it. Anyway, I'm on the street corner, and then I met some black men, mostly men, black men, claiming to be Jewish. I forgot what they called themselves. I don't know if they were the Israelites or whatever. They looked like they dressed like Kohanim, like priests. White garb, very loud and adamant and boisterous, standing on the street saying that they were the true Jews. Now, again, I question people's motivations. What are you trying to gain by standing there saying you're the true Jewish person? So, in actuality, you want to say that you have 613 obligations? Well, gesundheit hate, as we say in Yiddish. I don't really speak Yiddish so well, but so then go ahead. You got 613. Go ahead, keep 613. Is that what you want? Is that what you're trying to announce to the world? That you're there? They were going because I think what they were trying to say was that it was a thing about Jewish privilege, Jewish white privilege or something. It was leading to that. Like they think, that we Jews should be blamed for the whole world's problems, and that's not necessarily true. It takes two to tango here, as I said in the beginning of this sharing, that we've tried to teach this information for years and you guys don't listen. So here again, are you going to be doing the same thing? Here I'm trying, I'm probably one of the nicest people you're going to meet to give you this information. I come with such a whole heart, such a loving heart, and you're not going to listen to me? You're going to do another thing to me in this generation. You're going to make me look bad in front of Hashem, and we Jews have to keep our mouths shut again. You're not going to get the truth. You're going to go ahead and just jump on cars and burn cars and set buildings on fire. Is that what you want to do with your life? Or do you want to keep the 7, 613, and the 10 obligations and do the right thing and make our Creator happy? Are you really a God-fearing person? Do you really want to please Him? Ask yourself these questions, because He really needs to know. You need to know. I really need to know, because I don't want to waste my time doing this if you guys don't want to know the truth. So if you're going to leave me hanging here, and not learning what you need to learn, then I'll stop, because it's... So I was talking, and these guys are on the street, and at one point I went up to him to have a little conversation. I don't know what possessed me to do that too. I usually avoid confrontation if I could. But back in those days, I was... Yes, Ma?
It's 10:53.
I'll be right... Oh, 10:53? Give me 2 minutes. I'm going to wrap it up.
You need time to set up the...
Yeah, I know. I'll be right out, Mother dearest.
Yeah, right.
All right. See, I got my things I'm dealing with. So, I want to say how to heal. Okay, so, anyway, they said that they're the real Jews, and I came back to my Rav a little, didn't know what to make of this, and I said, Rav, is this true that the first Jews were black? And he said, no, there's a pasuk in the Torah that says Abraham looked over there and said something like, I don't know the pasuk number, I could find it for you if push came to shove, but it said over there they're black. it's not, I'm not even saying it right because I feel rushed. I'll have to pick this up maybe on Tuesday, but with the Truth Seeker show when I come back again. But all I'm telling you is that the first Jews were white. Okay, so I don't know their motivation. What were they wanting to? I guess it was because of that privilege thing. They think, not that we're so privileged, that we've got 613 burdens on our shoulders that we have to carry with us every day. You want this? You can. We don't force anyone. You want to convert if you want to. You're welcome to convert. We don't force anybody. But I don't know, what his motivation was, and he was trying to showboat and look real, in our Kohanim garb, whatever. So that's that point. All right. So let's assume that it's true that this curse exists. Okay. Maybe I could speak more about it on Tuesday, but I think the slogan that I said to my Rav is, I said, Rav, can the curse be reversed? And he said, yes. I said, what would they have to do? He said, they just have to fulfill their obligations properly. So reverse the curse. Fulfill the 7 obligations if you are a black Gentile. Fulfill your 7 obligations. If you're a black Jew, fulfill the 613 obligations and reverse the curse. That's all I can say for now. I hope we heal. Stop getting angry at each other. Don't try to string somebody up. Your idea of justice may not be complete, accurate justice. You're angry. I would breathe. I would just let time to heal it. It's funny, I put up that big band song. I meant it as a way for people to relax and to hear and divert their attention so that they wouldn't get angry. It says in the Torah something amongst us Orthodox Jews, when you're feeling very nogea something, when you're so attached to something and you're very emotionally involved, go study some part of Torah that, like about the Beis HaMikdash or about the sacrifices or something that you're not going to be touched by because we can't do anything now with those obligations. You cannot fulfill them. So study those obligations and you will become objective. Become objective and then you will not... I know, 2 minutes, 1 minute. Oh boy, see, she's showboating too. She wants to really...
Don't fuck up my show.
Oh boy, okay. All right, I gotta go take care of my mom. I'm coming back with the Karp family show number. I don't know yet. I'll let you know in a minute. I love you guys. Let's heal. Let's work together. If you've got any questions or anything you want me to check out for you, write them in the comments and I'll try to find you the information. But please take all this to heart and let's heal. Okay, I love you. Oh. So fulfill the 7 obligations. I said I was going to end with this point too. Fulfill the 7 obligations if you're not Jewish. Fulfill the 613 if you are Jewish. And fulfill the 10 steps to immortality if you are either Gentile or Jewish. I love you. All right, guys.